My name's Josh Garupa, and this is Just One Cup. Hey guys, this is episode 5 of Just One Cup, a series where I drink a cup of coffee and take some time to talk about God and what His deal is. First of all, I wanted to say sorry for not posting any videos the last few weeks. I just had a lot going on. First of all, work was kicking my butt, and second of all, I applied for a job, basically, my dream job. I really wanted this position, and they turned me down, which kind of took the wind out of my sails. On top of that, I wasn't really getting any feedback or suggestions for my videos, and that was kind of frustrating me, but I figured, and I actually really hate when people say this, but Rome wasn't built in a day, so I figured I'd get back on the wagon. So I'm back now, and I figured to kick things off, I would take what I've been working on the last few weeks and make it into a video. Basically, my pastor thought it would be a good experience for me to not only prepare, but also hold a sermon on a Sunday morning. So I thought I would take my sermon and break it up into several different videos that I would post throughout the week. So to start out, I want to tell you guys a story that I found on the internet. Now, I don't actually know if it's true or not, but I thought it was kind of interesting. So one Wednesday evening, this young guy goes to Bible study, and there the pastor talks about listening to God and obeying the voice of the Lord. And the entire time this young guy is asking himself, does God still talk to us? Does He still speak to us? And so after Bible study, he went to go grab some food, some dinner with some friends. And there they talked about, they continued to talk about this topic and these questions. And a couple of the friends even shared how God had led them in their lives. It was getting late, so he decided, he would head home. And on his way home, in the car, he started praying. He said, God, if you still talk to people, speak to me. I will listen. I will do my best to obey whatever it is you tell me to do. So as he's driving along, he gets this weird thought that he needs to go buy a gallon of milk. What? But he shakes his head and is like, nah, whatever. God, is that you? But he doesn't get an answer. So he keeps driving. But this thought just keeps coming back. So he says, all right, God, if this is you, I want to obey. So, he goes, buys the gallon of milk and thinks, okay, well, it's pretty easy. Just get some milk, and if anything, I can drink it myself later. After buying the milk, he gets back in his car and starts driving home again. But later on down the road, he gets this feeling that he needs to take a different way home. And he thinks, okay, God, is that you again? But once again, he doesn't get an answer. So he thinks to himself, all right, if this is God, I want to obey. So he takes this alternative way home. And a couple blocks on this other street, he gets this feeling that he needs to pull over and stop. So he does. He pulls over and he stops. And he looks around. All the houses have their lights turned off. It's dark. Everyone's probably sleeping by now. And then he gets this feeling that he needs to go to this one specific house and give them the milk. And he thinks to himself, Lord, this is insane. These people are probably asleep, and the last thing they want is some stranger knocking on their door with a gallon of milk. Finally, he says, okay, God, if this is really what you want, I'm going to go do it, but, man, I'm going to take the first chance I can to get out of there. So he heads over, rings the doorbell, and he hears, some shuffling inside, and then he hears this man say, "Who is it? What do you want?" door opens and there's this man standing there just in jeans and a t-shirt, and the young man's like, and just thrusts the milk down. The man just takes the milk and rushes down the hallway, saying something in some foreign language. And moments later, a woman comes out, followed by the man carrying a young baby. And this woman has tears in her eyes. And she goes to this young man and says, "We were just praying. We had some big bills this month and ran out of money, and we were praying for an angel to send us some milk to feed our baby. Are you an angel?" And this is where the young man realized, alright, God still does speak to us. What's it like when God calls on us? When He speaks to us, He usually has some sort of job or assignment for us. Now, it could be something small like, buying a gallon of milk. Or it could be something really big. Like when God called a man named Jeremiah to be a prophet. Now, God came to Jeremiah in a time where his people, the Israelites, had turned away from Him. Instead of following Him, they were making and worshiping idols. They were no longer listening to the voice of God. So God went to someone who would listen. Through Jeremiah, He hoped to show the Israelites what they were doing wrong and then set them on the right path again. In Jeremiah 1, verses 4 through 10, we can read part of that conversation, the initial calling of Jeremiah to be a prophet. "And the Lord spoke to me. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations." "Oh, sovereign Lord," I said, "I can't speak for you. I'm too young." The Lord replied, "Don't say I'm too young, for you must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you to. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you. I will protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken." Then the Lord reached out, touched my mouth, and said, "Look, I have put my words in your mouth. Today I appoint you to stand up against nations and kingdoms. Some you must uproot and tear down, destroy and overthrow. Others you must build up and plant." Now, in the story I told at the beginning of the video, we hear how God still speaks to people. And what's the very first verse that we read? "The Lord spoke to me." What do you imagine the Lord's voice to be like? Is it loud like thunder? Powerful and clear? Or is it like someone's whispering something in your ear? Soft and personal? Or maybe it's not even a real voice that you hear, but more of an idea that pops into your head, and you just know that this idea, this thought, comes from God, just like the story. There are, of course, other ways that the Lord speaks to us, but no matter how He does it, He speaks to every single one of us. So why is God talking to Jeremiah? What is it that He wants? God says, "I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations." Here we have God straight up telling Jeremiah that he has a job for him. He is calling him to be a prophet to speak to the people of Israel, specifically Jerusalem. But God doesn't just tell him what he has to do, He also gives him a reason for why he has to do it, why Jeremiah is the one to do this. And for us, it isn't any different when He calls us to do something. Because God doesn't put us into situations that we can't handle. He knows exactly what we're capable of. He knows what we can and cannot do. So God tells Jeremiah that He has this job for him. How does Jeremiah react? Why is this such a typical response? Well, that's going to be my next video, which I hope to have up in a few days. Until then, just take some time and reflect on where you personally are at with listening to and obeying the voice of God. As always, if you have comments, questions, suggestions, or any of that, go ahead and leave a comment down below or just send me a Facebook message. Remember that God speaks to every single one of us, and we just need to be open to whatever it is He's calling us to do. Take care. Want to know how you can help me out? You want to help me out, right? Well, totally help me out! If you guys like my videos, it'd be a huge help if you share them with friends and family to get the word out there. All it takes is a Facebook post or an email. Thanks so much for your support.